Let's further discuss this now with Joe Siracusa. He's a professor of political history and diplomacy at Curtin University. He joins us live now from Perth in Australia. It's good to see you, Professor. Now, Professor Hattem there says that this could mark the end of Netanyahu's political career. Would you agree?
Good morning. Well, it could. Now, keep in mind that George W. Bush had to wear 9/11. And at the end of it, he got reelected. So, there's a chance to recover. I mean, I know it looks pretty bad for Netanyahu, but, it's not so much that the intelligence capability failed. I mean, they have the capability. It's just that the people running the intelligence show screwed up. I mean, this happens all the time. 9/11, or I can give you 10 instances in American life where the intelligence community let everybody down. I mean, they got the stuff, they got the equipment, the capability. It's just that they bungled it, as a matter of fact. So I think Netanyahu's not quite dead yet. He reminds me a lot of Berlusconi and a lot of Trump. It's going to take a lot to kill this guy off.
There are reports of Americans being held captive, which U.S. officials are, of course, looking into. But how can we expect the U.S. to help Israel as all of this unfolds?
Well, I think the Americans are going to make a big fuss about some of the hostages. Americans are terribly sentimental about hostages. I mean, most of the time they can bomb a nation as long as there are no hostages there. Jimmy Carter got very sentimental about those hostages that were taken in Tehran in 1979, destroyed his government and American policy in the Middle East for a number of years. Now, look, in America, they're starting to connect the dots here, Efnan. They're trying to figure out now, if they pay attention to Tel Aviv, there's less material to give to Kiev. So, Ukraine's going to kind of go off the rails a little bit, and they're going to make a connection to Iran. There's no chance the Hamas was able to do what they did without help from the outside. And of course, everybody knows that Iran is bankrolling people. And of course, the critics in America blame Biden for this because they say he's turned over money to Iran when he got those prisoners back. Without thinking about where this kind of money goes. Now, whether the money went on this particular adventure by Hamas or not, it still is money that was going to Iran. So he looks pretty bad there. And of course, the Abraham Accords have gone off the rail. The Americans were very keen for Israel to get into bed with Qatar and UAE and with Saudi Arabia. The trouble is that all these great Arab nations have Arab publics who will not forget what's going on in Palestine. So you got that kind of division. But you got this kind of knock-on effect. Right. And of course, if the Israelis find out that Iran played a role here, and I'm sure they did. The Wall Street Journal is trying to say there is a connection, that it was all cooked up in Beirut a little while ago. And then the Israelis will probably overreact and pick a fight with Iran. And President Biden has said, he's warned everybody not to take advantage of Israel, which Efnan is shorthand for an attack on Israel is an attack on the United States. So when it comes to Israel, the United States is all in. There's no doubt about where this is going. And this is one of these things that snowball into something that becomes difficult. Yes.
Right, and we really see that in the sentiment as well, don't we? The U.S., along with other Western nations, have said that Israel has the right to defend itself, but we didn't see them use those same lines for the Palestinians when they were being terrorized month over month. When it comes to this conflict, why the double standard?
Well, you see, it wasn't always a double standard. About 20 years ago, one of my favorite Democratic presidents, Jimmy Carter, wrote a book called Palestine, Apartheid or Peace, okay? And he got in a lot of trouble. He said, as long as you bottle people up in those kinds of spaces, it's just a matter of time before it bursts into hatred and things like this. And he actually identified Netanyahu as somebody who had given up on the making excuses for settlements and that kind of thing. And Jimmy Carter got in all kinds of trouble. I mean, there was a time when American presidents actually wrote books about what was going on in the Middle East and what was wrong without the two-state solution, without an attempt to build a two-state solution. even throw them a bone, anything. This is going to go on and on. And when you send in armed forces into Gaza, I mean, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. These people, you're not up against a military force or an army. I mean, Hamas has probably shot all of its arrows right now. It can't fight back. And so this is a terrible, I think, tragedy. And this is a Greek tragedy. We've all seen this coming. And for 20 years, if not, nobody did a damn thing about it. And so when we see the problem, and we're almost lost for words, because whatever tragedy happens to the Israelis has already happened to the Palestinians too. And you can't put 12 million people in a closed space without, as somebody said the other day, you can't have hell and heaven in the same space. I mean,
Right.
You can't condemn people to no lives at all. And I understand that there are people in Gaza who've never left. I mean, their whole life is there. They don't even know what's on the outside. But you can't do that. You can't do that. Sooner or later,
they certainly can't leave now, given that they have been completely closed off. Professor Joe Siracusa, thank you so much for being with us here on the NewsHour. It was a pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you.